raps for any nigga tryna front.
Yeah.
AK raps for any nigga tryna front. Got AK raps for any nigga tryna front. AK raps for any nigga tryna front.
717 shit.
For any nigga tryna front. AK raps for any nigga tryna front. AK raps for any nigga tryna front.
They ain't never heard a nigga like this before. Got so many flows, switch 'em up.
Hey, yo, welcome to the 280 Plus podcast. I'm your host, Slows Def, and today, this episode looks a little bit different, right? You seeing me in double, right? Maybe. But no, tonight, man, we going to be by ourselves, man. We going solo dolo, right? And, before I get any further, I just want to thank all the listeners, everybody that's been participating, all the guests, all the listeners, all the viewers, whether you just, kind of sliding through in passing because you're curious, or whether you've been here since day one and you've been checking me every episode. I appreciate you, shout you out. And yeah, so today I'm gonna do my first solo episode. I'm kind of nervous about it just because, it might not land. It might not, be kind of what I want it to be. But I figure, if I learn how to carry this joint by myself, like completely by myself, it's over for you niggas, right? They ain't gonna be nothing to stop me if I'm out here just kind of doing solo episodes. And when I think about it, that's originally kind of how the show was designed. I was supposed to just do some solo episodes, and maybe I would add a guest segment in here and there. And then, it started to become something where it became very collaborative. And I really like what I'm doing, man, just in the terms of celebrating people from around my way. Because we have some platforms, or we've had platforms, but, currently right now, I'm trying to fill a void. I'm trying to, change some narratives and create a platform that's respected, that's, people are going to check for, whether you in my area or not, you know what I'm saying? Which kind of leads into, this episode. This is going to be like the vacation episode. I got a vacation coming up, and I already have another episode ready to go. I figured, I wanted to do a solo episode, and I had to see if I could do it. And so we're going to try it out tonight. So, and then talking about building a platform, that's something that I really want to do. And one thing I want to get started with is I want to get in the paid promotion game a little bit. And my paid promotion is going to look probably a little bit different. I'm not a pretty girl that can twerk and do all that type of stuff, but I do have a platform that I feel is going to be around for a little bit. This is a platform where you're going to be able to say, yo, I really want my music. Yo, did you check for the new 280 Plus? Yo, did you hear, the new tracks that he featured on there? When I think about this idea, what I want to do is I want to, put some artists on in terms of just getting their music out there for exposure. And it's not like you're giving me your full song. It's just, I'm playing like, a snippet of it. How many of y'all watch $1 Million Worth of Game? Right? So, how do you probably wonder how do those artists get their songs on there? Well, it's a business, you know what I'm saying? And they do what they got to do. And I'm trying to do that just maybe on our level, so to speak. And obviously, it's going to be something that's very affordable to artists. It's going to be a thing, though, where every submission it's not guaranteed to play. But what we'll do is we'll make each submission good for a certain amount of time, a certain amount of weeks, before you have to feel like you got to submit again to see if your song made the cut. And essentially what I would do is I have 15 seconds in the beginning, right when my show comes on, for it to play on my intro, and then the same 15 seconds at the end. And then even if I already know what song I'm gonna pick, I might even talk about it a little bit, depending on the levels and the packages and the things that we can put together. But I do want to put together something that's affordable, just to give people some exposure. And it's kind of a twofold thing. I share the platform. You're helping me build the platform. It helps build your platform. And like I said, this should be like kind of like something that you could put on your resume that, oh, yo, my song was featured on 280 Plus, 3 different times or whatever. Like, I'm hot in these streets. So that's where I want to take it. Like I said, and this is a business. This is a upstart business. Something that I'm really trying to get into. So yeah, I would appreciate the support, and I'm gonna get some details out there really soon. But and then we got some giveaways coming up pretty soon, and I'm not gonna announce anything yet until I iron some things out. But really trying to grow the platform. And if anybody knows about YouTube monetization, I'm on a hunt for subscribers at this point right now. More than anything, I'm not worried about my watch hours. Because I think I'm gonna hit that mark way sooner than I expect to hit that. But it's the subscribers. And I don't think people realize how much of an impact subscribers have for people that create content, especially if they're posting their content on YouTube and things like that. Subscribers are just so big. And I know from a consumer standpoint, you just think like, well, I don't need to subscribe to it. I could just look up the video. But, like I said, that's like one of the easiest forms of support, the subscription, because a lot of times the subscription is anonymous. It's not the same as social media where you got to be bombarded with my content all the time or somebody's content. It's just, you mindlessly almost can just give a little subscribe. And like I said, that really goes a long way. And just in general, even when you think about on Instagram and stuff like that, the share is actually more important than the like. The share is more important than the like because nobody sees your likes anymore. But the share, right now, you're introduced. If I post something and you like it, you don't even gotta like it no more. Just share it. Just share it because now you're introducing it to new eyes that may not have seen it. Or you might know somebody that's into what I'm talking about. Like, yo, my friend will like this, or yo, my sister will like this, my cousin will like this. So that's what we're trying to do here, and build that up a little bit. All right. Let me take a little quick. Let's talk about television. All right. I'm a TV head. I feel like I've watched everything that's good. Some people would say I'm a harsh critic of shows. And actually today though, I'm actually gonna praise some shows. One thing about me though, when it comes to television, is that once something is like out of season, and I don't know what I'm gonna watch next, it kind of puts me in like a bad mood a little bit, just because it's like I really don't have anything to watch. Now I have some things I probably could get into or get back into that I might have took a break on, but there's 2 shows that just had a finale this past week, and I'm pretty sad for those shows to be done for now, and I can't wait for them to come back. Both of them happen to be starring all black cast or mostly black cast. The first one is grand finale. It is All American. All right, the first one is All American. And here's the thing, I am a tough critic when it comes to shows and things like that, right? But what I would say is that everybody is entitled to 1 or 2 corny shows. Like, and when I say corny watch, right? And we talked about that in episode 8 with Bria and my cousin G's. But everybody's entitled to 1 or 2 corny watches where it's like, you're not putting it up against any of the best shows or anything like that. It's just something that brings you enjoyment and that you really like to watch. So All American is one of those shows for me. I like the melodrama. I really like it. Like I compared it to One Tree Hill, where we need that sometimes. We don't just need hood stuff. We don't just need street stuff. We need content that kind of transcends that and gets a little bit deeper. Kind of pulls on the heartstrings, so to speak, right? So All American, and here's a warning. We got some spoilers here with this All American finale. I thought it was a real solid season overall. And the finale was action packed. I really liked how they kind of, tied some loose ends there. Here's some critiques though. I do have some critiques. Overall it was action packed. I really like where they went. I'll point out to a couple of scenes though, whether I like them or not. But things that really stood out was the planted drug scene. Right. So I knew I knew that girl Mo. I knew she was up to no good, right? Early on in the season. Now, I'll be honest with you. When she reveals that Preach is her baby dad and that she has a kid, I thought that was a lie. Like, I thought that was made up. I thought, like, yeah, man, she ain't got no kid to this nigga. And, like, she's really going to use a kid to manipulate this man, which essentially she did, because she used the kid to keep Preach away from Coop when she was on tour. But I thought, like, it was a whole lie that he was the dad. But as of right now, it's not a lie. But what they tried to do was, and like I said, I wasn't buying it. They made it seem like the Lady Mo was gonna send this guy Andre to Coop's tour to kill her. Like, that's the vibes I was getting. Like, you know what I mean? He was acting real funny. He didn't want to ride on the bus, you know what I mean? But what happened was he planted drugs on the bus. He called the cops. The tour bus gets pulled over, and Coop already knew what was up. She already knew something was fishy, and she ended up unloading the drugs. And then at the very end, right, we have a shooting scene, which that's the one thing I'll let go. I won't reveal. But you know, just kind of leading into next season, just worried, like, oh man, what's gonna happen? Who's gonna survive? You know what I mean? Who's gonna get out of that situation? I really did like what else did I like? I liked the team fight scene. That shit was great. Like, just the Beverly versus Crenshaw and them fighting each other, then fighting themselves. That was real dope. Everybody getting slid, things like that. And then that last narrative would be that I really liked, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Is what's the girl, the pretty girl, Layla, yes, Layla, and she has that crazy white girl roommate from rehab, friend, whatever. But I'm glad where that's going, because she thought that she was gonna leave some note to divert the friends from believing whatever. But her dad is kind of on point. Whatever, he came home, and you know he's gonna see that this girl is up to no good. But you know the girl's plotting, and you know she had her hide her phone. So we'll kind of see where. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if she's gonna like force them to get in a car crash. I don't know what her plan is, but I knew that white girl was up to no good as well. So, and then the last thing about All American was this idea of a spinoff coming. Now, if you watch episode 1 of this podcast, you know what I mean, me and my man Quelly was recapping All American, and we started talking about Simone, and it's funny because the girl that plays Simone, she was also in Snowfall. And I made a joke about tying them together, whatever. Like, basically, like the baby that she had with Jordan was the baby that got killed in Snowfall. But obviously, that's not the case. But you know, when I posted that clip, I found a headline of an article that said something about she was going to be the one that stars in this spinoff. And if you watched season 4 of All American this past year, you see that they are gearing up for some type of spinoff, like in terms of when they go to college, and they go to some made up black college, and you kind of get to see Simone in her element. You know what I mean? She plays tennis and things like that. There's a boy that already likes her. Then you wonder, like, which of the characters from All American, like if anybody else is going to kind of follow her to that black college. But you know, maybe she don't deserve it, so to speak, but I'm not necessarily against Simone getting a spinoff. A lot of times spinoffs aren't characters who you expect to get shows. Like, if you remember, there was a show called Perfect Strangers way back in the day, in the 80s, right? And it was really like these two dudes that was foreign. They lived together and whatever. Well, one of a recurring character who was not a main character was actually Harriet Winslow. So and then they basically started a whole show about her life and Family Matters, and that became Family Matters. So a spinoff doesn't always have to be the main character. You know what I'm saying? If you think about Bill Cosby, the Cosby Show. And you think about Different World. Yes, it did start off with Denise, but Denise, the daughter, which is played by what's her name, Lisa Bonet. How could I not have that on the top of my head? Anyway, Lisa Bonet. It was first about her, but she was only on one season of A Different World, and then Different World ended up becoming successful without her. You know what I mean? And none of those other characters are from the Cosby Show. So that's that on that. Now, another show that I kind of want to celebrate. And this is actually a show that gets a lot of flack, but I'm gonna put my stand hat on for a little bit for this one. And I just watched the finale. I was actually gonna talk about this actually before the finale, but I watched the finale and we can kind of close some chapters here. So The Chi. I love The Chi. I really love The Chi. I really love what they're doing with that show. When it comes to storytelling overall, I would say it's one of the more believable ones. It's really good storytelling. It's a good drama. It's not too All American is kind of, and I assume that All American has white writers. I could look that up one day, but it does feel like it has some white writers. We know that The Chi has black writers. We know that Lena Waithe is a part of it. We know that Lena likes to force certain narratives, right? So a lot of times, the main criticism that The Chi gets is when it comes to dealing with homosexuality, right? And you know, overall, the black community, we tend to be a little bit homophobic. However, for me, the whatever homosexuality is in the show, it doesn't deter from the story. You know what I'm saying? And also, too, this is not like a kid's show. This is not a show for kids. Because a lot of people want to use the indoctrination argument where, oh, we can't have stuff with gay people because the kids are watching and then they're going to turn gay. But I don't feel like that's the case here. And your little kids shouldn't be watching The Chi anyway. It's not for little kids. So, but she does force some narratives with some things with trans and things like that. But it's about representation. And I'm not going to knock her for that. I'm not going to knock her for the representation that she's trying to include. There are some plot lines that are like a little bit like out there a little bit. But overall, I think Lena Waithe does a good job with telling a story. And when it comes to storytelling, and that's what I'm saying, whenever I critique anything, I try to be objective. I try to pick one thing to be objective about and kind of hone in on that. And that's where all my critiques come from. It's like I have a gripe with one thing and I try to make it as objective as possible. And with The Chi, one of the main things to get someone to buy into a show, you gotta make the characters lovable. Like, people have to invest in the characters. People have to love who those characters are. And if you take, basically you give me a coming of age story with three young brothers, things like that, like I'm sold, especially because we didn't see that growing up a lot. We didn't get to see a lot of shows with young black protagonists, right? Young black boy protagonists. And then on top of that, it's not like a kiddie show. It's about real life. So I can't say nothing bad about it. I love Kevin. I love Papa. I like Jacob Lattimore. I don't really like Jake, the character Jake, but that's just, there's gonna be characters you like and dislike. I like that the young boy though, who's the actor, I like, him getting that opportunity and things like that. But I love The Chi, and we just got through the finale, or I did. And one topic that made me think of, or one thing that made me think of, was just this idea of open relationships. And so, brothers, man, like, I think the idea of it kind of sounds intriguing, but a real open relationship, like, I don't think you really want those problems. And I'm saying we're seeing it kind of play out in real life when we think about Will Smith and Jada Pinkett, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's been always rumored that they were in an open relationship. And we seen how that it's not always worked the best for Will Smith. I don't know. That's just a whole situation. But open relationships, man, I don't think that's something that people really want, especially, are you cool with your girl fucking another dude? Like, are you really cool with that? That's what you would have to ask yourself, because I think as a man, you think, oh, open relationship, that means I get all the bitches I want. I can fuck all the bitches I want. Well, yeah, I mean, if we being reciprocal, it couldn't be that way. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, we talking about a whole nother different lifestyle. That's not really open relationship if only the man could do it. And the whole thing with that is like, I just feel like I feel bad for the kid Emmett on there, Jacob Lattimore's character, just because he decided to admit to something that he didn't even have to confess to. He did not have to confess to cheating on his girl or his wife at the time, but he did, and she's like retroactively punishing him essentially by doing this open relationship. And the fact is too, it's like I see where I definitely see he's making the wrong argument. Emmett is overall, like when you're looking at the show, he's just like, oh, yo, you fuck with this nigga, like, and it's like, no, bro, like you gotta I don't know. I just feel like he probably should have kept it to himself and then just did right by her, but his conscience was eating him up. But the thing is though, when it comes to open relationships where it gets tricky, and if we want to like keep it on some real life stuff, and it kind of goes into why there's a double standard when it comes to cheating and things like that, is because it's the raw fucking, right? And the idea of that, a woman could get impregnated, right? She can get impregnated by a man. She could be cheating on her man, get impregnated by another man, and just say she decided she was going to take it to the grave. Like, she could really be bringing into this world another baby that's not her boyfriend's, right? Now you might say, hey, that's just the inverse. Like, niggas have babies on women all the time. But it's different because the deception is not in my house. Like, for example, like, it's like I can kind of start anew with somebody else. If your girl cheats on you and she or even if you're in an open relationship, you know what I mean? And that was the thing. That's just the thing. Whenever I watch TV shows, and call me weird, call me a freak boy, whatever, whenever there's sex scenes, I be thinking like, yo, are they fucking raw? Like, are they raw? Are they doing this shit like without a condom? Like, you know what I mean? Is that nigga, that trapper boy on the Shy, was he piping Tiff just raw dog? Because like I said, he could run into that situation where, she could basically put this man in a false paternity situation. And that's just, like I said, when it comes to that double standard, that's where it's there's almost like this added level of deception, because like you could really, just say you have no plans on being with that dude that you cheated on your husband with, right? You have no plan, and you're going to do what you got to do to keep your husband happy. So, he's never going to know that it happened. And then all the while he's raising some other man's kid. A woman doesn't have to go through that. Like, she don't have to raise that man's kid if he has a kid to another woman. Y'all could separate and whatever, and then it just starts anew. So that's that. I'm buying into the whole the Keisha narrative, and I don't like that she named the baby Ronnie. That was kind of whack. Like, but overall, man, like that shit there's just something crazy about that. And that's the thing about The Shy. I just don't feel like it's super predictable. When we think about black creators, we think about Tyler Perry, and just everything that he does is just predictable, and it just comes off as corny. The way they write The Shy and the way Lena Waithe is kind of putting together, I got to give her props, and it just doesn't feel corny. Now, if you start watching it because of XYZ, maybe you didn't like certain characters, I can't knock you necessarily for that, but it is a show that's worth watching. And I can't kind of wait to see where it goes. I did feel bad for Tabitha Brown's character when Keisha decided that she wanted to keep the baby. Now, personally, I don't know, man. Keeping a baby that is the result of rape, I think that if we talking about pro-choice, that's definitely an option that you should have. But she was gonna give it up for adoption, And I think that was her best decision to do, but then she decided not to. And I don't know. I don't know if I don't know. Just say if I was her spouse, you know what I'm saying? Like that probably our relationship probably would just kind of deteriorate in general, because she probably can't fathom being touched and things like that. And just, raising this baby that comes from trauma, that I think that would just put a big strain on a relationship. But if you haven't watched The Chi, go watch it. Like I said, man, my young boys, they doing their thing. Real happy for Kevin, the way the season's kind of turned out. And yo, the dude that plays Otis, the mayor, yo, that's my boy, man. Like I like a good villain, and I think he's a good villain. Real complicated, real complex. And I'm not gonna spoil the ending, but I have no idea how the fuck they're gonna get out of this situation that they're in right now. So watch that though. Definitely tune in, tap in with it. Let me know what you thought about the finale. All right. So we're back. So let's talk about music now. Let's talk about music. Like I said, I'm here by myself. And depending on when this episode drops, it don't really matter, but we're gonna just say the other weekend. Right, there was, the other weekend, an album was supposed to come out, right? And here's the thing: I feel like I hate on Kanye West all the time. So now this is where the hate comes in, probably, in this episode. But yo, like, where's Donda? That's all I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna say, where's Donda? Where's the album? And here's the thing, man: when it comes to Kanye, It's the same reason why, like, I probably don't like certain sports teams. It might not even be him. Like, he might really be misunderstood, right? He really might have some issues that he needs to work out, right? So it's probably not Kanye I don't like. It's his fucking fans. And I probably don't like him because he's created this, it's like he has this cult-like presence, right? And I might go on a tangent here about that a little bit, but yeah, I just feel like he has this cult-like presence, and people don't really hold him accountable for the bullshit that he pulls, right? So this motherfucker was supposed to drop this album. Now, I don't know exactly when this album was supposed to come out originally, but I follow somebody on Twitter, or it might just kind of come up when you're added to certain lists, and it's probably from a hip hop list. And for months, this guy, his display name was "Where's Donda" or something like that, or did Donda drop today? So I'm assuming that there might have been some other pushbacks, whatever. But I'm not worried about that, right? So he has this big event, right? He has this big event, this listening party, and I happened to go to my dad's house probably the day after the listening party. And they had Entertainment Tonight on, which I don't watch that show. I mean, if you don't got no cable, it's not a bad show to watch. But so the way they was like, here's a first look at Kanye's breakdown. Now I know he was late to the show, but they was like, he was late to the 2 hours late to the show. They said that he went out there and performed with no mic. Which I did not know that part. I did not know that he was out there and he was literally moving around and performing whatever, but apparently he hadn't had no mic on. And then he had some weird shit on. He had this all red whatever outfit. He had fucking pantyhose over his face, whatever. And to make a long story short, the album never dropped. This motherfucker never dropped the album. So I'm like, yo, and not to mention, did he not finish the album? There allegedly 4 p.m. that day of the listening party, he just got a whole feature that he planned on putting on the album, right? Now, I think it's probably more common where albums get created last minute, but Kanye has shown that to us in at least the last 2 projects. I remember that, right? This one, Donda, and then the one before that. Where he's literally just slopped shit together last minute, and then he didn't even hold to the date. Like I'd rather a Kendrick, I'd rather a Drake, where you just basically telling me like, oh, it's not ready yet, whatever. And like, or I don't even get definitive announcements. Like this motherfucker had a definitive announcement of a release date, had a party to celebrate that release date, and then didn't give us no fucking album. And I just feel like Kanye is the only rapper that gets away with that bullshit, right? Like, only rapper that gets away with it. And y'all wouldn't tolerate it from nobody else. Y'all wouldn't even tolerate it from Hove. Like, if Hove did some shit like that, if he promised you something, and then, like, if he promised everybody an album, and then we didn't even end up getting that album, like, y'all would kill Jay-Z too. You know what I mean? Y'all would kill Beyonce. Y'all would kill all these artists. Y'all would criticize them. But it's like Kanye fans and the people that really support him, they feel like they don't want to hold him accountable, because if they do, that for some reason that takes away from his musical genius, and they can't do that, right? They can't reconcile with that. So what they do is they enable his behavior, and he can do whatever he wants, right? He can do whatever he wants, and there's literally no consequence to it. So that is that on that. And then in terms of music, like newer artists, I really like Blxst. Like, that's my guy. Blxst is my guy. And I didn't know, for the longest time, I did not know how to say his name. I had to Google that shit recently. I was like, yo, how do you pronounce it? Whatever. Because it's Blxst. And he's on my playlist. And the way I kind of accumulate music and listen to music, I put on the general, hot playlist on Spotify and things like that. And every year, at the start of the year, January 1st, I make a new playlist for whatever year it is. So I have a 2021 playlist, and as the year goes on, if I like a song, I add it. I add it to the playlist. And I try to be consistent with it. Because I don't want to miss any songs that might have came out or anything like that. So I try to be really consistent with that type of stuff. So but yeah, so Blxst, I really like Blxst. I see he had a newer project, kind of like an EP with another artist, but really it's the project that came out at the it came out in December of 2020, which I feel like that, like all the songs, all the singles that you're hearing, that it comes from that album. So like, yo, I listened to that album. It does have a similar sound. I don't want him to get caught up into like a Ty Dolla $ign box or anything like that. But he's sounding like that boy, and I do feel like he deserves to be on the freshman list, even though he might not necessarily be a rapper, right? So that's in question. And so I've been hearing a lot about EST Gee. One thing about EST Gee, I've heard he's a former football player. Like, so if you ever look him up, like this nigga used to play football. I think he had like a shot to like be good, and then I think he might have got into some trouble. Don't quote me on that, but I seen something where it kind of showed like, he was a football player, and then he ended up kind of pivoting to becoming a rapper, and now he's like the hardest nigga alive. And I'll say this, he's nice. I like him. I like his sound, but I got to be in the mood for that. Like, there's no knock to him. When I was listening to it, I was like, there was a couple songs where they were just kind of infectious, and I liked it. But at the same time, I was like, yo, it's a little angry for me. Like, his content's a little bit much in terms of like, just it ain't just a vibe. Like, you gotta be in your fucking bag. Like, I gotta be around, my niggas, you know what I mean? We gotta be in a shady spot, you know what I mean, that where we might not know that we're gonna get out. So we need that encouragement. We need that, that battery in our back, and then we'll put it on some EST Gee. So and yeah, like Lick Back remix. I guess some people don't like that. There are quite a few songs on that project that I did like. Matter of fact, I'm gonna look up some real quick. EST Gee's project. What did I like off of that joint? I did like the one where. Let me look this dude up real quick. EST Gee. And it seems like, yeah, and so he'll probably, we kind of predicted it on a couple episodes ago that he's probably gonna get he'll probably get freshman list next year. But yeah, the new one, I like that Make It Even. Yeah, that 5500 Degrees is crazy. Bigger Than Life or Death, Sky Dwellers is nice. In Town was nice. So I got to run through the rest of that. It's like 15 tracks on that joint. Yeah, Lick Back. The original Lick Back is crazy. We could just, my man Q said the Lick Back remix did not happen. So we'll just go off of that as well. All right. But yeah, other than that, with music, for a little bit, I feel like I was in a tiny funk there, just not really checking for new music. And it's partly because the artists that I want to hear albums from, they're not coming out. And here's the thing, this is what we gotta be real with ourselves too. Just because an artist puts out an album, that don't mean I gotta like the album. Like I don't mean I gotta check for the album, because not all artists are album artists. I mean, like, artists put out albums because that's just the traditional way to put out music. Like, you got to put out an album. But a lot of these artists, man, especially some of these newer guys, they're good for a song or two, but I don't need like 16 of those tracks or anything like that. So yeah, that's all for music for now. We'll take a quick break and then we'll get back into something more controversial, and then we're gonna end it with sports here. So stay tuned. Let's get into something a little more serious. And one thing too, I feel like I love having guests here. One thing though, and I try to let guests have a voice though. And I try not to, even though this is my show, I try to share the platform, and I don't want it to be a situation where we can definitely have some debate, but there are even times where it just feels like, you don't want to like beat a conversation into the ground. And sometimes too, it's hard to, like, there might be things I want to talk about, and the guests that I might have for a particular week, they don't really match necessarily what I want to talk about. So, and sometimes it's a struggle trying to figure that out, like trying to balance like the entertainment with also some knowledge, because I'm a pretty articulate guy. Like, I know some things, and I'm kind of in the know of some things, and I do want to share that as well. So anyway, and one of my boys even said that too. He's like, yo, we want to hear, I think people want to hear your perspective on things too. So that's what we're going to talk about. So right now, there's 3 controversial things that we're hearing about schools right now, but 2 of them are interrelated because they get confused a lot, right? And we're not even going to talk about COVID, like, that, because that's one of the 3. So we're going to talk about 2 things. One is basically like erasing history from schools, and then also this idea of CRT. If you don't know what CRT is, it's called critical race theory. Now, 2 of the major discussions that we're talking about, these are the 2 major discussions: critical race theory and this idea of erasing history in schools. Now, first point that I want to make: there are some states that are actively trying to take certain parts of history out. Like in Texas, they've done some things to kind of just reword language to where they kind of downplay slavery a little bit. They try to make it to where it was called involuntary labor, right, instead of slavery. Trying to just justify some things. Tennessee also was another state a couple months ago that just tried to take certain teachings out, or basically said that teachers don't have to teach these things. Now, when you hear about that, that's definitely something that you want to be like, oh, what the fuck is that? Right? And especially as black people, we need to be kind of vigilant on this type of stuff, right? However, don't fall for the okie doke, right? Because what's happening now is we're hearing about critical race theory, right? And because when we hear that things are getting erased out of history books, we're saying to ourselves, no, you ain't gonna fucking do that. You're not about to just take, black history out of the history books. You're not gonna, because it's bad enough that a lot of black kids, right, they grow up in adulthood and they're learning, and it's no problem. It's great if you're learning stuff as an adult, whatever. But I see so much stuff on the timeline where it'd be like, yo, I didn't know this. And I'm into history, so you know what I mean, and I'm in that world a little bit. So I know certain things in terms of like when the parties flipped and that, you know, the first politicians were black Republicans and whatever. And but you know, when you read that stuff out of context, you don't really understand what some of that stuff means, because there was a lot of things that shifted in history. Now, I don't want to get off topic here, but what's happening is this: as a black person, you're going to be mad that they're trying to take certain parts of history out. They're trying to whitewash history, so to speak, right? That's the big term. But what you're going to hear is that white people are going to justify it, right? And I'm going to say white people because some of them are Republicans, whatever, some of them are not. But you're going to hear a lot of white people that are saying that they're going to basically conflate an issue, and they're going to say that, oh, this is critical race theory. And then they're going to give, and then anytime you hear, most times, and actually it's not white or black. This is like a right-wing Republican debate against critical race theory. They're going to misinterpret it. They're going to get a definition of it, and they're going to still try to make it into their own definition. A gem of a page that I found on YouTube. It's something I watch now, like pretty frequently, and the show is called the channel is called TYT, the Young Turks, which you might have heard of the Young Turks. It's real political. It's news, whatever. Now they try to be as objective as possible. Now, obviously, you might feel that they lean a certain way, but they try to hold both sides accountable, but they do kind of focus on, you know, especially right wing politicians and voices that are really active, but also that are spreading false narratives, right? So when you hear about CRT, when you hear about critical race theory, be careful of the misinformation, right? Because, you know, they're gonna say that critical race theory teaches people that white people are inherently racist, and that's not what it is. But anyway, my bad. Back to the gem that I had. So this guy, it's the show called Indisputable, and the host of that show is called his name is Dr. Rashad Richey. Now he's a professor. I think he's in law school, and he's also this like TV host. And what he does is he brings people on, and he'll have a position, and he'll bring somebody on that has a different position, and they actually have a nice debate, whatever. Sometimes it goes off the rails, but like this is a black man. He's very articulate. He's very to the point. Like I like how he can hear something that somebody says, and then like he really points out like, hey, whoa, I'm gonna push back on this, and like he always has facts and data to back up everything he says. Now, I actually want to play something of his real quick, and him kind of explaining what critical race theory is, just so I don't mess it up for y'all. But also in terms of when we say misinformation, you're gonna hear a lot of people talk about, oh, we got to get it out of K through 12 schools. Well, part of the misinformation is that it's not even being taught in K through 12 schools. So that's like a fear mongering tactic that a lot of Republicans are playing, where they're just saying like, oh, yo, critical race, they're teaching it to your kids. They're telling you that black people are inherently inferior and things like that, which that's not what it is. It actually de-emphasizes the individual and explains that our systems have some biases, right? Our systems have biases. And that's what critical race theory is all about. And it's not even something that they teach in schools. They teach it in law school. It's something that's advanced. That adult students learn. But anyway, let's watch something here real quick. Let's play this. We're gonna play a little bit of it, just so we get an idea of what critical race theory is if you've never heard of it before. So here we go.
Let me talk about.
Let me share my sound, just in case. Okay, yep, we're good. All right, here we go.
Critical race theory. Across this entire country, you've had states like Texas, Idaho, and others pass laws banning the teaching of critical race theory. You have a band of Karens who have launched assaults against school boards, saying, don't teach our children critical race theory. Here's the reality of it, ladies and gentlemen. K through 12 education does not teach critical race theory.
Nope.
As a matter of fact, colleges, undergrad, they don't even teach critical race theory.
Nope.
It's considered to be an advanced theoretical framework. Graduate level classes typically will teach critical race theory if you're taking particular courses. Now, why are they saying they are banning critical race theory? Don't fall for the okie dokie. See, I'm from Glenwood Road. I peep game. They're simply running game on Republicans, moderates, independents, and trying to run game on those on the left. But it doesn't work here. We are immune to game. CRT, critical race theory, has been around since the 70s. It's not a new concept. It is a derivative of the legal scholarship concept, which examined racism as it correlates to systems, institutions, policies, not just people. In other words, if you eliminated or decreased the number of individual racist people in America, you would still have to contend with the fact that you have racist policies and racist norms connected to institutions. Let me give you another example. The U.S. Constitution called me 3/5 of a person. That's called an institutional racist norm. The Declaration of Independence, another founding document of our nation, called Native American savages. That's an institutional racist norm. Those institutions continue to permeate today. Critical race theory, ladies and gentlemen, not taught in K through 12 education. There is no school teacher who has ever taught this in K through 12 education. As a matter of fact, when you went to high school, did you learn critical race theory? Nope. Of course not. This is a fabricated pretext in order to create a context to stop critical thinking, not critical theory. That's what this is all about. The bills that have been proposed and the bills that have been passed do not contain the verbiage critical race theory.
Yep.
Isn't that something?
That's funny.
They don't have the verbiage that says CRT. They do say race, racism, racial, and even sexism. Those words are inside of these bills. The fabricated pretext is critical race theory to create the context to serve an agenda that says, let's stop thinking critically about what white racist lawmakers did in this country.
There we go. So yeah, that's good. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted y'all to hear my man, the way he spoke, and just how he articulates it well, man. Like I said, it's basically a dog whistle, man. It's a distraction. You're gonna hear all this about critical race theory, and people gonna be thinking like, whoa, you know, they're basically trying to play game on you, because then people are gonna put you in a situation where you're gonna be like, yeah, I support critical race theory, and you don't even know what it is, right? So, because don't ever say you support something and you don't know what it is. But then they're gonna try to label you a certain way, because I've seen a couple different videos with him where and with other people that kind of they're defending critical race theory, not because they think it's a great theory. They're defending it because there's a political party, there's a political faction of people that are mischaracterizing and misdefining the term, and they're making it something else that it's really not. That's why people are defending critical race theory. But be careful, because you're gonna hear people talk about that. Oh, do you support critical race theory? And you might just think like in your head, like, yeah, I support thinking critically about race, and no, but it's just this other framework. And they're gonna make it seem like you think that all white people are racist, which that's not what critical race theory teaches at all. But that's the narrative that they're gonna push. Just be careful with that. And all I'll say though with this is that, man, black people, we gotta educate our own children. Of course, I'm a proponent of public schools, and I think that certain public schools do a good job. I think there's a lot of good teachers out there that are doing a good job. But we still have to, you're still gonna learn the most at home, so to speak. Like obviously, as a parent, you can't teach your kid quadratic equations and all that. Whatever, you're not teaching them that type of stuff. But like the real life things and how this world works, that's our responsibility, and we need to inform our black kids. We need to inform them about kind of what's going on in our world and things like that. So don't fall for the okie doke. And I just worry. I do worry about white kids. Because I just feel like if certain things get passed, what's gonna happen is that this is what I fear. I fear that I am more concerned about white people because they may grow up with this false utopian idea of what America is and how race relations are in our country. And what's gonna happen is whenever new transgressions, whenever new acts of racism happen, they're going to look at those things as outliers. They're going to look at those things as anomalies. And whenever we look at something as an anomaly, whenever we think about something happening like, oh, it's so rare that it can only happen one time, we minimize it, right? We make it like to be something that's like, we shouldn't even have to worry about it because it only affects, X amount of people. The problem with that is then, when these problems are minimized, you have they're not really scrutinizing an actual pattern that's taking place. They just look at it like, oh, of course. I mean, this country's not as racist as it was back in the Jim Crow days. Like they'll say stuff like that, which objectively, no, it's not. Right? We definitely have gone farther than Jim Crow. Like we're not saying that it's the same thing, but when you look at new acts of racism and you look at it as like it's just like a rare thing that doesn't happen, instead of looking at, no, maybe there's been a pattern of this for centuries. That's why teaching history is important, because when things are happening in your world, and things happen in society, you need to be able to look back and see, is this something are we doing something wrong right now that we need to fix? Oh, no, they used to do this back in the day. All right, well, how did they get through it then? All right, well, okay, we don't want to get through it that way. We want to get through it this way. So let's create a brand new solution, and let's not repeat history, right? That's what history is all about. That's why it's important to preserve it. That's why it's important to, and in some ways you do have to rewrite history, especially if history has been wrong, right? And that's the thing. A lot of times you have these people that are just like, whether it's a certain amendment or something like that, it's just like they're not willing to rewrite history. You know what I mean? Especially when we're seeing that like history was wrong. But that's a whole nother topic for another day. But and we could talk about COVID another time as well, because I just see these schools. If you ain't working a district that went back to school, a lot of people are panicking right now, and I don't got no comment right now for that. I just know from experience that it can work. But masks probably have to be a part of it, especially if there's no vaccine option for the kids, whatever. So, and we can talk about vaccines another time too. So yeah, let's get back into it. And I want to end this podcast talking about some sports. All right, so this is gonna be our last couple topics here, and it's gonna be all focused on sports. So you see me on this podcast, and I did predict that I wanted and I thought that the Suns were gonna win. Right, so I gotta hold that L. But here's the thing: when you don't have an NBA team, a current NBA team, you could like whoever the fuck you want. You know what I'm saying? You could jump on the bandwagon, whatever. Which I was definitely trolling my cousin, just acting like I was on the bandwagon. I've never been a true bandwagon, but I ain't gonna lie, like I like Golden State and whatever, cause I'm a player follower. I follow players. My last major player that I follow was Ray Allen. Probably the guy that I follow now might be Curry. It might be Durant. When they were on the same team, it was easy. Now it's like, I definitely wanted Brooklyn to beat Giannis and all that, and I thought they should have won. But they underachieved. But one thing I ain't going to do, man, I ain't going to take nothing away from the Bucks. I ain't going to take nothing away from Giannis. And they was down 2-0, and it really, the way they lost, at least especially the way they lost the first game, it just looked like, this shit is over. Like they don't have no team chance, whatever. Game 2 probably was a little bit closer. That's the one game I didn't see. I saw 5 of the 6 games, and I seen all the games that the Bucks won. They really played their style of ball. They got way too physical. When it came to the offensive glass, it was a wrap. It was a wrap. I mean, the Suns couldn't do anything. And like I said, that run and gun type stuff that they were doing, playing with smaller lineups and things like that, that didn't work after a while. Because in terms of matching up, the Suns literally had nobody to keep Giannis. Nobody keep Giannis. I mean, maybe Chris Paul can keep Drew Holiday, but not really. And then Middleton, you don't have nobody to keep Middleton. Now, who on the Suns? You pretty much offensively, you gotta worry about Booker. Ayton is good, but he's still young, so it's like are you getting what you think you're getting from DeAndre Ayton? Bridges is just a role player. He's not like a star yet. So yeah, they really don't have the firepower. When you really look at the rosters, the Suns definitely overachieved this year. They got farther than probably most people would have thought they would have got, and a big part of that has to be Chris Paul. So like when we did the MVP do-over on episode 16, we talked about MVP do-over, and we would probably name Chris Paul the MVP over Jokic. And I think that still stands because, you don't have to win the NBA title to get a league MVP. But, it's just like I said, it is kind of sad. Chris Paul, he's about to be like 36, 37, and he still don't got no ring. I thought this was the year for him. And a lot of people were kind of saying like, oh, Giannis, you're going to get chances to get back. But that's the thing, though, in these sports. You can't live with that mentality of like, oh, I might get back, because you might not ever get back. And we'll talk about a player actually, and this is interchangeable. We'll talk about a player that has not gotten back to the promised land, and we won't know what's the status. But anyway, Giannis, man, he dominated. He snapped at the free throw line, and it's good too. I like to see, especially when a player is being praised and he gets all these accolades. Like, he's been MVP twice. It feels good when those kind of players, get some team success as well. Shout out to Middleton, shout out to fucking Drew Holiday as well. Even Coach Bud, man, because apparently he was on the hot seat. I felt like when you make the finals, though, it bought him a little bit of time. But some people feel like, nah, he was gonna get fired if they lost, which I think that would have been a tough break for them. But yeah, I got to shout out to them and just the way that they really built that team. Of course, they got weapons over the years, but when you think about their core of Middleton and Giannis, like they started that team and they worked their way to it. And so when people are saying now, Giannis, I like what Giannis said about the super team stuff. I just like how transparent he was. But there's a lot of people on ESPN that thought that what he was saying was throwing shade at his own teammates, which I didn't take it like that, and I don't think his teammates took it like that. But then you have some people randomly saying and claiming that the Bucks are a super team. The Bucks are not a super team. They're not a super team. Do they have like a? Could you argue and say that that Holiday, Giannis, and Middleton are a big three? Yes, they're a formidable big three. But like I said, if you weren't calling them a super team at the beginning of the year, don't try to rewrite history and call them a super team now because they won the title. They just did the most with what they had, because when they were about to lose to Brooklyn, right? Nobody was calling them a super team then. When they lost a couple games to the Hawks, and it just looked like, that was gonna be a series that was gonna be in question. You didn't look at them as a super team then, so now that they're the champions, don't just try to give them extra accolades, because sure, Middleton is a closer, but is Middleton a top 10 player in the league? No. And that's not even a diss, and that's not even a diss to say he's not top 10. Not a diss. Giannis is top 10. Drew Holiday is not. Is Drew Holiday top 25? Maybe not. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they definitely don't have a super team, but they have a really good team. And And, you think about, they got role players that were out. Like, when the bull from Villanova, when DiVincenzo comes back, like, they're going to have better pieces. Now, does this end the super team era? No, I don't think it does. I don't think it ends the super team era overall. You see the Lakers, they're trying to revamp. You see the Warriors, they're trying to get back. I mean, if they get Bradley Beal or somebody like that, like I'm going for the Warriors. Like, I'm rooting for the Warriors. You know what I'm saying? But then you got Kyrie and maybe Harden come back with the Nets. I don't know. It's a lot of firepower. I do like to see the parity, and that's what this playoffs kind of provided. Now, people would say that it wasn't really parity because it was just a lot of injuries. Now, that might be the case, but like I said, you got to be durable. You got to withstand. So we'll see what happens in this NBA draft. What the Warriors are going to do. That's the team that you got to watch because they may be trading some of those picks that they have. Maybe packaging Wiseman or something like that, and they're gonna make a push. I think they should keep Wiseman because you still need even though this is an era of where you don't need a center, if a team does have a big guy, like you don't want to be in a mismatch where the only center that you have on your team is just somebody that can't do shit. All they do is just protect the rim. Like, no, you need a rim run, maybe a rim runner, rim protector type dude. But you can't just have some like stoic guy that can't do anything on offense. Like, you got to have somebody that's a little bit more balanced. And then last team, and this team is actually interconnected with the Bucks for a couple of reasons. One, they play in the same state. Yes, they both wear green. And Aaron Rodgers is he's a owner. He's a part owner of the Bucks, and he's a player of the Green Bay Packers. Now, man, I don't even know, man. I don't even know what to say. I feel like a lot of the stuff with Aaron Rodgers has been media created. He's not really helping the situation. He's fanning the fumes, the flames a little bit. But I'm hearing rumors that this, there's gonna be in the upcoming weeks he's gonna announce his retirement, and all this is a ploy because he doesn't want to play for the Packers now. Here's the thing: he's under contract for 2 more years. Now we might be able to get rid of him, and I'm gonna say the Packers might get rid of him after this upcoming season because they'll save a lot of bit of money. They'll save a lot of money, not a lot of bit of money. They'll save a lot of money, probably getting rid of him. But I don't want that to happen. But it seems like he's made his stance that he really doesn't want to play. And then people are kind of panicking and saying like, oh, you see what happens now. Devontae Adams is talking about, because I guess their contract negotiations stalled. But here's the thing, and this is why I don't like sports analysis a lot of times, because they don't look at things objectively. It's all about emotion. It's all about like, oh, he shouldn't have did this, he shouldn't have did that. Well, if you're a Packers fan, then you know that we literally, for next year, we literally have one of the probably top 3 worst cap situations. Like we're like $30 or $40 million over the cap next year, and that's we don't know what the cap is going to increase to. Everybody suffered because of COVID, and the projected cap was a lot lower than what it was supposed to be. So, coming next year, and we knew this would happen. If you are a Packer fan and you keep up with kind of what's going on in terms of the cap situations and things like that, when we kept Bakhtiar, when we decided to keep Jones, when we kept Kenny Clark, we knew that it was a possibility that we would lose Adams because he's too much. He's going to cost too much. You can't. I mean, we can't afford him, and most teams can't afford him. I mean, if you decide to pay him, $30 million a year, because I think DeAndre Hopkins kind of pushed it above 25 a year. If Adams gets a contract like that, whatever team he goes to, he in some ways he's putting them at a disadvantage, because that's a lot of money for a wide receiver, man. It's just. And it hasn't proven to work. If you really look at wide receivers, what's the last time a big name number 1 receiver won a Super Bowl? Now, you might say Mike Evans. I mean, with the Bucks, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other factors that went with that team. That was kind of like they tried to build like a NFL super team, so to speak. But other than that, Marvin Harrison, like you know, you think about big number, and the thing is, Mike Evans is not. He's not quite making. He's making good money, but he's not making Odell money. He's not making DeAndre Hopkins money. He's not making Amari Cooper money. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not making that kind of money yet. So it's hard to like really fully chime in and be like, oh yo, this is what would happen. Like, you know, with a number one wide receiver. But we'll see, man. We'll see kind of what happens with the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, and hopefully they come to a resolution. And maybe this is because there's a bit meme out there that they posted a last dance photo. They both did, Adams and Rodgers, and hopefully this is the last dance, and then we can, you know, unfortunately move on, man. See what Jordan Love is about. But yeah, I don't want that to happen with Rodgers. But you know, at the end of the day, yeah, it is a business, man, and it might be a new era before we know it. All right, so yeah, let's see. That's all I had today. I did have some like little, well, I didn't write it down, and I've already been talking for a while. This is actually going to be I don't know, at least in terms of content, pretty decent episode. So it's going to be interesting to see how this comes out, even when I put out my clips, just seeing myself and just me talking. It's basically going to be me just talking shit, I guess, right? So, so yeah, man, I enjoy myself. I like getting some of that stuff out, man. I felt like I was able to articulate some things, get some opinions out there. And I do like to be challenged. I don't mind a little bit of a challenge, but you know, sometimes, like I said, you know, when you're talking to somebody, you want to kind of move the conversation, because yeah, like these podcasts could end up being 3 hours, and I don't want to be a drink champs. You know, I think some people the hour and a half sometimes is a little bit long for some people. But yo, man, shout out to people, man, like that's doing their thing. If you're doing your thing with the content creation, I see a couple people out there, a couple other platforms out there. K&T Radio, that's one of them. With the boy Khalil Brown, and shout out to you, man. I've been checking out some of your stuff. Even the boy Makeem Allen, man, with Intelligent Gangster. I've been trying to contact him, man. So if you know him, you know how I could reach him. I was trying to contact him about doing an episode. And I know with some of these brothers, man. Shout out to the Group Chat Chronicles, man. I like those dudes in terms of what they're giving me. Like these other brothers, I see them working, and that's what's up. Group Chat Chronicles, you know, I definitely support what they got going on. Anytime they drop an episode, I try to chime in. At least from what I see with the posts, it seems like their guys chime into some of my stuff. But yeah, man, I like to have them on sometime. And that was always one of my ideas. Like, I wish I could put together like a Joe Budden podcast type feel with some friends. But yeah, for me, it's just, you know, it's hard to do stuff on other people's time. So shout out to everybody that's making content. Yo, man, I got some cool ideas for some guests, but also too, man, like I said, if this one goes off, I'm not gonna say we're not gonna have no guests, but you know, it might not be out of the ordinary to see me by myself, ranting off, talking some shit, right? So, yeah, man, I appreciate everybody listening. If you got this far, I need you to hit that subscribe down there on the bottom. Hit that subscribe button. Share it with somebody. And I appreciate your support. Like I said, man, I'm gonna make an announcement really soon about a giveaway, something upcoming that should be really dope. I know I'm gonna be there to support my people, and I cannot wait for that. So yeah, man. If you want to find me, man, I'm on this. Yeah, this is what I do with other people. So if you want to find me on Instagram, it's at 280 plus PLUS _pod. So 280 PLUS _pod. That's where you can find all my podcast content. I got a link tree in there that has everywhere you can find all the content, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, all that stuff. I'm everywhere, man. So like, and that's the thing too. I just want to get it in your heads. I'm everywhere. Don't ask me where my show is. I'm everywhere. So if you want to listen to it, if you want to watch it, we have everything that you need, right? So yeah, man. And then you could follow my personal page at Los_DEF. Kind of play on the name Most Def. All right, yes, and this is another episode of the 280 Plus podcast. Again, I appreciate all your support. Like, share, subscribe, tag, do all that good stuff. And yeah, man, I'll let you know another time.
Hear this flow again. Tell me how you love that. Better yet, nigga, tell me where your girl at, so she can tell me what she love. Is it my smile, my style, dreadlocks popping, how I'm rapping all of the above? I don't really give a fuck. Long as she with it, she can get it. And we both just trying to get a nut, but I'm trying to see a buck before and after the pack, just so I can sit back and relax. Something pretty on my side, long black hair, chinky in the eyes. First name Nikki, last name Winfrey. Let her squeeze for a nigga, ain't no iffies. Aim on fleek, nigga.